back today with another tropical update on the tropics, of course, covering everything going on in the Atlantic in today's update. So mainly here, you can clearly see tropical storm Rene and Paulette here in the main development region. Paulette now getting slowly but surely starting to get out of that main development region as they move generally west-northwestward. We also have two disturbances, 94L and soon to be 95L here also, which do both have a chance of developing, especially this one here, with a 50 to 80% chance of developing in the next couple of days here. The other disturbance classified as 94 has a 30% chance. Really doesn't look like it's going to develop at this point. Maybe a little bit of rainmaker and some fairly windy conditions to the coast of northern and southern Carolina. All right, and this one is likely to become also a tropical depression around here, but natural hurricanes, I don't want to highlight, could become a tropical depression here, all the way. So as early as right off the coast and as late as pretty much in the middle of the main development region with this one. All right, so here's a little bit of a look of the Atlantic right now. You can see all of our tropical cyclones. The biggest one on the screen here, Tropical Storm Josephine, very noticeable on this IR satellite imagery. Here's Tropical Storm Rene here, continuing to struggle a bit, as well as Josephine struggling with some wind shear there. You can clearly see, as well as some of its moisture and cloudiness getting pulled by the slow up there. So it's definitely struggling a little bit. Rene just have been struggling to get a little bit of convection there, mostly probably because of some drier intrusion. Now here's the part of that tropical wave here emerging off the coast of Africa, as it is likely to move generally in this general direction there, and then where it goes is still unknown. But you can see here that tropical wave kind of emerging off part of it at least. Our second disturbance here is kind of, it's not really, it's kind of around here. It's just this general messiness. So I'm going to say it's like right here. Probably not going to form as I said, but it's just some more general thunderstorm activity there. Really, this entire area is a big area of thunderstorms activity, as well as some of the Bahamas there. So that's a little bit of an overlook at the Atlantic Ocean here. And again, Josephine. Why do I keep calling it Josephine? I am so sorry. And again, Paulette being the most noticeable one. I'm sorry, I don't know why I kept calling it Josephine. It just really reminds me of Josephine for some reason. But yeah, Paulette, I am so sorry about that. Paulette just really getting that moisture, getting really sucked in here by that kind of trough or low up there. Not too sure what that is, but really, it's having trouble with not only shear here. You can see it getting shear. The center is almost exposed. It's right down there. But plus, it's also getting all that moisture. And it has dry air. This entire area here is full of dry air. But you wouldn't really think of those conditions in September. So it's really crazy. Alrighty, so here's a close-up look of tropical storm, not Josephine, Paulette. And as you can see here, it is blowing up a new center of convection there in those last couple of frames. So at the moment, it looks like the center is about here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like it's about here. Convection is building up to the right of the center, though, which again is a little bit because of that shear. Probably the bottom cloudiness is up there, but then the convection is all the way to the right because of that shear really shearing it. But you can see where that shear is. It's generally pushing in this general direction here as it moves in this direction, which is really what shear is. It's the low level cloudiness getting the upper level and mid level getting pushed in a different direction than the low level. So what we have going on here, we have that center around in this general area with that cloudiness around it, and we're getting the low level and the low level cloudiness, clouds moving generally westward. But then we're getting that wind shear, which is pushing the upper and mid level convection and clouds generally northeastward, which is causing, of course, wind shear, and that's displacing the convection to that top right corner there, which is why it's struggling and was downgraded from 65 to 60 mile per hour. Now we can also see that indication on the visible high resolution there. You're also going to be able to clearly see that happening on there where where that center. You can see that center a little bit better here, actually. The center, believe it or not, is actually right here, right? So I was actually wrong. The center is right down here. It's not even up here, which actually makes more sense. Let me pause it here at that last frame. On that last frame, the center is right here, so it's almost exposed at the moment. It's like 50% exposed. So the center, believe it or not, the center is actually right here, right? It's about here. And we're getting all that convection getting pushed to the northeast of that center, which is why that big new blow up of convection is to the northeast of that center. Because instead of it's trying to blow up over the center, but it's just getting pushed to the northeast of that. Alrighty, so here's that official National Hurricane Center forecast, and as you can see, it's a fairly big system, believe it or not. It's fairly big, and once again, you can see all that those tropical storms are extending to the north of the system, and that's likely to change even more with the center being being more displaced once again. But according to the National Hurricane Center, it's going to continue moving gently westward until about Thursday to Friday, where then it's going to take that turn towards the northwest, it's going to take a turn towards the northeast, actually. Yeah. It's going to take a turn towards the northwest or northeast, and that's when Bermuda should definitely monitor, as it could, if we extend that track based on the models, it could do something like that here. So this is when Bermuda has to watch out for, of course, potential impacts there. Now, in terms of intensity, it's expected to remain 60 and then weaken to about 45 at that point, and then re-strengthen to 50 and then 60 before heading towards Bermuda. But it's expected to be very close, if not a tropical depression, but at around Friday here before re-strengthening to around 60. And the models possibly bring it to hurricane status, as it most likely either kind of heads towards a little bit closer to the United States there. I know a couple models like the GFS bring it extremely close to the United States, or whether it turns much earlier. Even a couple of models turn it as soon as right here. But it is likely to potentially become a hurricane after that part here, as it gets in those northern area where it's going to have a whole lot less wind shear to encounter. Okay, so here's those spaghetti models, and once again you can see that general westward and then turn. And those models actually show a little bit of a different story. Those models are showing it heading westward a little bit less, and actually curving a whole lot sooner on this northeastward direction before actually taking a very sharp turn towards the east there, potentially. A couple models here really turn it, a whole lot of models turn it towards the east, which is kind of weird here, how some models are trying to turn it towards the east, which, I mean, maybe it's a little bit surprising what they're trying to do with that, but as you can see, Bermuda is all the way up there, right? So the models did curve it out to see a whole lot sooner than the National Hurricane Center. The models here, they're turning it right here, which is why I'm saying the models right now, they're doing this basically. They're kind of doing this basically, and then they're turning it maybe like this. So this is why really the cone to me is a little bit uncertain right now. All right, so here is the GEFS assemble model, and that's the GFS power, my bad. It's supposed to be a better version. And again, as you can see, it does curve it again, but you can see there are a couple models here. They show a major hurricane again. Once it gets pretty much past north of the Dominican Republic, once it is about north of, once it is pretty much alignment with around North Carolina, it does have the chance to potentially become a major hurricane, as you can see on that model. Alrighty, so intensity guidance again shows a very similar situation, where we're most likely going to be getting a weakening storm for the next at least 48 or 72 hours before it kind of weakens all the way for the next 60 hours, and it kind of stays around 40 to 50 mile per hour for the next 1 or 2 days before starting to re-strengthen. And then this is where obviously this is probably going to potentially go to hurricane status like most models are showing, and we're probably gonna maybe see this in the next couple of days. A couple models show some rapid intensification to potentially category 3 a little bit earlier, so also something to keep close attention to. All right, so former tropical storm, then tropical depression. Now back to tropical storm Rene. It was actually downgraded to tropical depression the other night, but we're back to this being a tropical storm, which it's not strengthening as fast as expected. Hurricane status is starting to seem unlikely. But again, you can see here the center is probably just kind of stab right in the middle there. And it's just having, I don't know why, but it's just having problems really strengthening, and it's just kind of staying stagnant as borderline tropical storm, maybe 45 mile per hour that much. And the reason for that is it's just having trouble sustaining itself at the moment. Now the center's not exposed, but you can definitely kind of see that center is also a little bit getting sheared there slightly. But the center seems to be around here at the moment with that convection. Again, it is a fairly healthy system there. You can see that clear rotation. You got some bending to the north. You got some nice bending to the south. So it's a healthy system, but it's just kind of not strengthening a whole lot. I definitely see this being 45 mile per hour very soon here. But again, you can see that very clear rotation, and it actually has some pretty nice bending and outflow boundaries. So it's definitely maintaining itself, but just not enough to really strengthen a whole lot, if that makes sense. But a couple models do show this potentially rapidly intensifying in the next couple of days, which is also something we're going to have to keep a close eye to. Okay, so now if we look at the National Hurricane Center model, they have a much smaller cone for this, so they're a whole lot certain of this. But it's expected to actually become a hurricane around Friday. I don't expect this anymore, but here's that cone. And as you can see here, it does get fairly large at the end of this, and I'm going to be showing you guys why. But very quickly, this is just why. It could either go to the right, go to the left. This is how uncertain it is. Go straight, or even do a loop. So this is why the cone gets so big, because we have a lot of different possible outcomes from this same area. And I'll show you guys when we take a look at the models. Alright, so the models, they actually have shifted quite a bit from that last model run. So actually what I said before was kind of wrong. But the last model run, actually, believe it or not, most models went like this on the last model run. So they were starting to show that loop. And then that was the trend the last couple of models. The models were showing it go like this. So now we've got a change in that models are no longer showing this, and they're showing it go like this, it looks like. So kind of going for a loop, like kind of curving slightly, and then kind of going back and then turning towards the northwest there. And this is very interesting because we basically went from a storm that would probably go like this or like this to a storm that would go the totally opposite direction, which just shows once again how uncertain the track is for this. A couple of models still bring it a little bit northwestward. But yesterday, all the models curved it like this, which is really surprising to see that big of a change. But it is just a little bit too far out to know. But again, I do not expect it to become a hurricane. But again, I could be wrong, so we'll definitely have to see. Alright, so here's that GEFS parasable model. And again, it is most likely going to take a very sharp, most likely it's going to be going in its general direction before taking a very sharp turn this way. And actually, a whole lot of model still do take it a little bit weirdly and kind of turn it this way, which is something we're going to have to keep attention to for potential U.S. impacts in the future. Alright, intensity guidance. No, not a lot of models show it becoming a hurricane anymore, and it looks to be likely to just remain a tropical storm status, like I've said, probably peaking next 60 to 72 hours and then gradually weakening from there on and staying at or near tropical depression status. Alright, thank you for watching today's video. As always, I'll have more updates and a model update probably tomorrow.